2 of FPL Weekly with my wonderful, glamorous co-host Ches. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, superb, mate. Superb.
Good. So for this one, as we mentioned previously, we're going to do some price predictions because, it's pretty dull time for FPL. So, and the purpose of it really is to give our predictions on what we think a player's going to be, partly a bit of fun and kind of see if we're on the same wavelength and what some players will disagree with, some players will bang on with. And then, when the prices do get released, we'll, if we both say Son's going to be 10, let's say, and he comes out at 9, we'll go, oh, that's cheap. So, and obviously it does depend on fixtures as well, but that's the main purpose of doing it. A bit of a laugh, but also a prediction of what we think is going to be, and therefore, if it's not that, that'll dictate roughly if we think they're good value or not. So,
and we did these two separate. So we
had no idea what the other person was going to say. We did it for a laugh a few days ago, and we had no clue. We released it at a certain time, so we had no clue what the other person was going to say at all.
All right. And the other thing that we did as well was we just chose the top point scorers of each position each position, just because then so there's some omissions that there might be throughout, and that's and maybe in another podcast we might discuss some different players that pop up, whether they're transfers in. There's transfers into the Premier League, or there's people also promoted teams. That might be a really good feature that we'll do in the future as well.
That's true. Absolutely, definitely. Yeah, good shout. We've, as you said, we've got 6 goalkeepers, roughly 12 forwards, midfielders, and defenders. The key ones from this year. And like you say, we may have missed a couple here or there that kind of sleeping giants. Off the top of my head, Reece James, Ben Chilwell. Do you know what I mean? Ones that just Reece James in particular, great option. Didn't kick on this year because he's injury prone. The injury prone is a worry for him, obviously. So it kind of is factored into his price. But if he stays fit, then he could be a great option. So yes, good. All right, do this.
Let's go. Goalkeepers. So the top point scorer for goalkeepers was David Raya. We'll get little clips up of our prices as well as we go along. And so David Raya currently finished the season on 4.8. I think he started on 4.5. Correct me.
Correct. Yeah.
And I predicted 5.5, and Johnson predicted. Johnson predicted 5. So I think that there's some similarities there. There was slight reasoning behind mine, which was that there is a great possibility. Ultimately, he's leaving Brentford, and I think he gets an upgrade. He doesn't get a downgrade. I think he gets an upgrade. And if David Raya is number one choice at a top 6 club, it seems that Premier League have basically set the stall out at 5.5 being the goalkeeper price for a top club, regardless of your name's Alisson, De Gea or Pope,
they'd only go 6, maybe Alisson and Ederson, I think. Other than that, you're right. It's pretty much 5.5. I think that's it. Spot on. I think if he stays at Brentford, it's my 5, and I think if he goes to Spurs, we know his first choice. Lloris goes, then he's 5.5. That's it.
Yeah, brilliant. I think we can probably group Alisson, De Gea, and Pope all together they finished the season on 5.5, 5.1, 5.4 respectively, and we've said 5.5 for them all. And as we said before, if you're a top goalkeeper in a good defensive side, then you're more than likely going to end up being that price, really.
Agree. I think De Gea was probably a bit cheap this year at 5. I think he probably could have and should have been 5.5. Maybe at the start of the season, was there a little bit of Henderson went in January, right, to Forest? I think maybe when the prices got released, Henderson was still in the mix, possibly. Hence why they went 5. Because at the end of last season, Henderson was getting a few games, wasn't he? So But anyway, it doesn't matter. But I thought 5 for De Gea was a bit cheap. He's a 5.5, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah,
and I think Pope has had a great season. He's risen in price from 5 to 5.4, and he's now in a Newcastle side that's going places. So I'd be very surprised.
Who had a great defense last year, you know, I was actually really surprised that Pope was not the top point scorer. Like, I can't believe that Alisson is a higher point scorer than Pope was come the end of the season. That really, really, really shocks me. Sarr. Play. Honestly, Wolves have just given me the biggest ick, known to man.
Harry's in there is amazing, really.
Because the boring, mate. They're boring.
But yeah, basically, he's 5 at the moment, and we both predicted he's going to be 5. We don't need to say too much. We don't want to waste too much airtime on Jose Sarr, to be honest. So let's move swiftly on.
And Johnson clearly didn't get the memo with regards to the 5.5 for Ramsdale. He's a top goalkeeper for a top side. Therefore, I feel that my prediction will be, I've said 5.5, Johnson said 5. And I don't know what more.
I think you're probably going to be right. Yeah, I think I've probably got that one wrong. I think where I got it wrong is I looked at his price now at 4.8 and thought, is he going to jump up to 5.5? But I think he probably will, because
was he 4.5 to start the season?
4.5, and that's because
mate,
he wasn't first choice at the start of the season. It was Leno, wasn't it? It was him and Leno.
No, fake news.
I think at the time it was very much.
No, fake news. Fake news. I thought Leno was already at Fulham. I think that was the start of.
Did Leno have the whole season at Fulham, or was it in January?
No, the whole season.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm pretty sure Ramsdale started at 4.5. So,
viewers, you'll soon learn this. Johnson is the king of fake news. So, yeah.
I know. We need to get our facts right, don't we? But anyway, he finished the season on 4.8. But yeah, I think he'll be 5.5 based on the season Arsenal had as well. We know his first choice. Yeah, you're probably right. Like I say, I just saw the 4.8, but if he's 5, then he's a serious.
Oh, he's the only reason why he wouldn't be is if there's 3 better Arsenal. That's the other point is I don't know how this season I finished the season with Everson and Steele costing me a grand total of 3.8 each. So I really am probably very much against spending any money on my goalkeeper.
I agree. Look at the top point scorers. Really, none of them. Ederson's not in there. So Raya was the top one. I agree with you. Goalkeepers are goalkeepers, and like we've talked about before, they're partly fixture driven. And the thing is, what people don't understand, I don't think, is you can get an Ederson at home, right, against a crap side, and he probably will get 6 points, but he's not going to get any save points. You can get a Jason Steele at Man City, and we might lose 2-1, but he saves 6 shots and he scores 3, maybe gets a bonus, scores 4-5. So I would never be too scared to have a goalkeeper even playing away at a tough side, because they might get some save points.
No, I remember I went into one game week with Danny Ward at the time, who was I knew I was going to have a Leicester goalkeeper because I had Danny Ward and Everson, and they were playing Man City away, and I was absolutely petrified. I was petrified.
Yeah, Man City away is probably a bad example, but I'll tell you a good example. Steele at Arsenal. We won 3-0. He got save points. He got 7-8 points. On paper, is Steele against Arsenal away a good fixture? No, but we had a good game. We kept a clean sheet. Keepers mostly, it's a lot of luck. Keepers. I mean, pen saves are just
and that's where Ederson. He how many 1 goals were there? How many 1?
Yeah, so many. And
so many.
And that's what Andy was saying is, we'll talk about Andy a lot, let's talk FPL, but that's what he always talks about is Edison's roof really is 6 because he doesn't really get any save points. The only save points he'll get would be an Anfield or an Emirates. He may get 3 saves there, but he's not going to get more than 3 saves against average size. It's just not going to happen. What I would say is I think City are a nailed one. They're still viable options because their XG conceded is always very low.
Yeah.
Extremely low. The amount of times they should have conceded 0.3 goals and they conceded 1 goal is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I haven't got the ick about City defence at all. If there's one that's nailed that he loves, let's say a DS next year, and he's 5.56 and they've got an easy set of fixtures to start off with, wouldn't put people off it.
Yeah, amazing.
Just because they haven't kept that many clean sheets this year doesn't matter too much. We talk a lot about XG, and they got a bit unlucky. Some of the goals were scrappy. They were completely.
And plus, there were goals. I don't know about you, but I remember there being lots of goals where they were 3-0 up and they conceded in like the 85th minute. So, because I remember between me and you, I would have Ake. He'd get pulled off at 65 minutes, and then you would have Akanji. He plays 90, and then I get the clean sheet. Perfect. So
it was the same as the last day of the season. It was really important.
And that's how I win. That's how I win.
Yeah. Ake was a perfect example. Last game of the season, got dragged off at 65, kept the clean sheet against Brentford. Brentford score on the 88. All the other City's defenders get wiped out. Not only that, because Ake was the only defender to keep a clean sheet, he got 2-point bonus.
Yeah.
He got rewarded by getting taken off early. But that's where fortune plays a huge element in this game. We're not saying it doesn't. I very much liken FPL to poker in that eventually there's a reason me and Ches did well. Eventually, over a course of a season, cream rises. But at the same time, like poker, you still need the cards. And no matter how good at poker you are, if you don't get the cards, you're up against it. It's the same with this. So there's a huge element of luck involved.
Definitely.
Okay.
Defenders.
Yes.
Let's. So there's a couple of standouts, and we will most certainly discuss them. And there's a couple that I definitely want to breeze past, like Ben Mee. So Trippier this season. Did he start on 5?
I think he did.
5. He's risen to 6. I've predicted 6.5, and you predicted 7. I think you're a little high there, but
he's a freak though. He's a freak in terms of bonus. I've never seen. I don't think I've ever remembered someone bonus points as much as him. Just a bonus point machine. You watch the game and be like, he's not done anything. Oh, he's way ahead on bonus points again. But the amount of 3 points bonus was frightening.
I will be massively shocked if he's 7, and I don't think he'd be anywhere near my team.
I don't think he'd be shocked. I wouldn't be that shocked if he was 7, but I agree with you. I wouldn't probably have him at 7. It's just I've just checked. He was at 5 at the start of the season. So if we go to 5, from 5 to 6, shows you that he may not be miles away from a 7. Look how Ondy was. Look how Ondy was at 6 though.
No. But this is where the price changes are really key. So if you start the season, so Mo Salah starts the season on 13, and his ownership is 60%. Okay, that's his baseline. Is now 60% at 13. Okay, if he goes to 40% owned, he actually drops in price. Okay, Trippier was so low owned at the start of the season that he went from, say, 5% owned all the way up to 80% owned. So therefore, his price absolutely skyrockets. Okay, and that's why he had such a price increase, because of his ownership.
Partly.
So if your ownership is big at the start, you're actually only going to end up going one way, which is down.
A good example is Greenwood. Everyone had him because he was an enabler, and then when he does nothing, he goes down because a lot of people own him.
Exactly. That's how you play. That's how your players end up 3.8.
Yeah, exactly.
And some stay at 4.
Yeah, absolutely. The only thing I'd say was people were still buying him and people were still putting him in wildcards at 6. I know they weren't queuing up. Most people had him and then had to keep him because the price rise. But I think you're probably right. I think 6.5. Probably right.
Is I had him at 5.
Yeah, exactly. And then you have to keep him because he's just holds so much value.
I didn't have to keep him. I chose to keep him. I was happy to keep him.
But that's what I mean, because he's not a bad option. And again, if anything, he did amazing. But he underperformed in that he could have got more assists. He could have had a few more free kicks. There's a couple of free kicks off the bar and stuff. So there's a couple of times they got a penalty. He had the ball in his hands. I was like, here we go. But then last minute he gave it to Isak. So I think he's the third penalty taker behind Wilson and Isak. Not that we'll ever know that, but
I think he's doing that thing where he takes the heat by people.
He does,
So, but anyway, we'll group Ben White and Gabriel together. So they finished on 5 and 5.2. I've said 5.5 for them both, and you said 5.5 for White and 6 for Gabriel. I think they're both great options, but it's only fixtures that I would put an Arsenal defender in. That's the only reason why I would do that.
I do think Gabriel is 0.5 more than White. Whether that's Gabriel 6 and White 5.5, whether that's Gabriel 5.5 and White 5, I think he's 0.5 better. I think he's more nailed, only slightly, but more nailed.
Ben White was 4.5 at the start of the season. Remember?
Yeah, and he went up a lot. And I had him a lot at the start, and I took him out. I had him a lot at the start, and I took him out.
So it slightly debunks my theory with regards to high ownership at the start means that your price is only going to go one way. It slightly does, but
I think White's probably more likely to get an assist, but Gabriel's more likely to get a goal. Gabriel's a sneaky threat from corners. I think his XG from corners is quite high, and he's just completely and utterly nailed.
I mean, the other player is Saliba. And that is, I actually think that Arsenal may go to 3 at the back next year, because Zinchenko he's not really a fullback, is he? And if they can get their hands on a right wing back, then they, White, Saliba, and Gabriel is a great 3 at the back. Saliba 4.5, and we both predicted 5.5. I think the all could be 5.5. I think one could be 6 randomly. But
they'll all probably go up a bit on what they were this season. Because Arsenal overperformed.
That's the Arsenal boys for me. The next one is Trent.
Trent's a funny one,
Trent. So he finished the season on 7.8. He started the season on 7.5.
Correct.
He dropped down to 7.1 at one point of the season.
Wow. Let's have a look. Let's just double check that. I'm on now. So he was 7.5. He dropped down to 7.2 for a long time. And then up and up and up and up. 7.3, 7.4, 7.5, 7.6, 7.7, finished at 7.8.
Yeah,
so that shows you started bad. It was high owned, started badly when you were in your rut. Then it was partly when you got better and partly when you moved into midfield.
Yeah, that's my point explained really. So Trent, I've said
we had a slight disagreement here.
Yeah. I've said 7. And Johnson said 8. And I think that we're both going to be wrong, and I think he's going to be 7.5.
Yeah, I agree.
I
would say, if I'm going to stick my neck on the line here and say it's more chance of it being 8 than 7.
Yeah, fair. I said to you at the time that I think I've cocked up here.
The reason I've got 8 is look at how he finished the season. The midfield switch is massive. His impact was huge. His numbers were crazy from midfield. And he's a player that people want. He started the season at 7.5 and everyone had him. I think it was 85% owned, something like that, 7.5.
Liverpool were really good defensively, though, the year before. And last year they were absolutely toilet. So
true.
like clean sheets wise, we were awful. So yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he went from 7.2 to 7.8 in a few weeks. Like the end of the season, the people were climbing on each other to get him in at the end of the season.
Yeah.
So we'll see. It's an interesting one. I think 7.5 or 8. I really do. But one
caveat that I want to not correct you, but to highlight. So the last 2 or 3 game weeks, people were getting him in with no fear of his long-term value. So I got him in on the last game week. So his price massively inflated in the last 2 weeks by like 0.2 or 0.3, and that's why. And because his ownership went from say 45% up to 75% for the last 3 game weeks, so it really did inflate his price. Now I don't know how much they look into this, but he could be, if he's a fully fledged midfielder and you're getting him at 7.5, wow, wow.
Because not only is he on free kicks and he's on set pieces, I'm unbiased. I'm not saying you're biased, but it's hard not to be when you support the club. He's obviously an unbelievable talent on free kicks, and he's not just your typical set piece taker. He can score free kicks like they're penalties. Like the free kick, the one that Salah knocked off to him, and he just passed it in the top corner. It's like,
I said to you yesterday or the day before, Trent Alexander-Arnold is Liverpool's best footballer.
Yeah, I can understand
he's not, Salah is our most effective player, but Trent is our best footballer.
So gifted,
We need to get Trent Alexander-Arnold on the ball as much as possible. So if we can pass him the ball, as in you just give him the ball as much as possible, he'll make things happen. And he was doing that at right back, but he was such a liability that his confidence was shot. Whereas if we just need to go out, what's more expensive, a really good midfielder or a really good right back?
Yeah,
a really good midfielder. Well, we've got one, so just go and get a really good right back. Like that's anyway. We've digressed, but
I agree with you though. I can agree with you completely. Yeah, get a good right back, put Trent in midfield. You're laughing. You've got your centre back's still okay. I've still got faith in Van Dijk. He didn't have a great season, but he's still a good player. Konate's looked good in spells as well. To be fair, he's looked alright.
And Robbo's fine.
Player. Yeah,
and Robbo's fine.
Probably Matip's getting a bit on, isn't he? So you could probably do with one more there at centre back as well.
You will be surprised at how young Matip is.
Yeah, is he bang on 30? I'd say.
Yeah, 31.
31. Yeah. I think you need another. I think you need another body at centre back.
Well, Joe Gomez we've got.
Yeah, but he's 31, Matip. Yeah. I don't know about Gomez.
Yeah, don't get started. Right, anyway, we've
really digressed. Yeah. So where are we? There's not all the rest, to be honest. We can kind of flick through. No one's really that interested. Ben Mee, we've both gone the same. He's 4.8 now. We've both gone 5. Nothing much to say. Shah, we had a slight disagreement on. 5.1 now. You put 5. I put 5.5. His numbers, his XG numbers are scary. He's underperformed his numbers. He's actually really attacking. The amount of times that he's been on a free kick, he's hit the post, he should have scored. He's a threat for them going forward. Like numbers-wise, he's a hugely bigger threat than Botman. I had Botman because he was cheaper, but Botman does nothing from set pieces, and his XG is really bad. Shah's XGI is quite good. So, look, he's going to be 5 or 5.5. I don't think there's much to say there. Mings, I really want to gloss over as quickly as possible because that was one of the reasons why you won. But he's 4.7 now. We both said 5. About right. I'm going to not look at the screen because I hate that face. It was so bad. Honestly, I need to move on. Burn 4.5 now. We both said 5. The thing about Burn is I've got a pretty close mate. He's a Newcastle fan, and he doesn't think Burn's going to play that much next year.
Do you know what? When you were talking about Shaw and Botman, I instantly thought to myself, there will be an upgrade for that back four somewhere, and I think it's probably Dan Burn at left back.
Left back, yeah, definitely. I think.
And by the way, this is not a. They're going to be playing a lot of football next year.
Of course.
So I think he'll still get a game.
But he's more of a utility player. He's more of a utility option. He's a good player, but I would have him as more of a centre back than a full back. Really, I think he's a better centre back than a full back. So he'll probably be a backup option at centre back, and then he can play left back if he needs to. But yeah, I think they'll go and sign a banging left back, and then they'll have Trippier, Shaw, Botman, and then whoever they have at left back, and then Dan Burn as an option. So something to keep an eye on.
Cucurella, dirt cheap from Chelsea.
Maybe, yeah, if they need to get rid of the funds and stuff.
30 million from Chelsea.
Yeah. Botman similar, 4.5. We said 5 next year. He was too cheap at 4.5 in a very good defence, but then he's not as attacking as Shaw. So I think 5's right. Purvis, he's 5 now. I haven't been biased. I've said 5.5. You said 6.
Yeah.
He's going to be one of the two. He's so attacking.
If he's 5, he's in my team.
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to be biased because I can't help it. He's really good as well. He's really good.
But this is a great.
He's really good.
Purvis is a really good example as to why this would be really useful, because if he comes in at 5, he's if fixtures are good, he's in our team.
He's a great option,
and because he's a great option.
So attacking. Look at his positions he was taking up at Arsenal. Scary. And he needed what in that game? Goal, assist, clean sheet, 3 bonus.
I mean, to be perfectly honest,
his roof is so high.
All of these players that we're talking about here, I'm really sorry, but you're not going to find any value in these players next year. Because these are the top point scorers from last year.
Exactly. These are the ones that are going up. Yeah. Agree.
So actually, the only thing that we're looking out for is how much we think they should go up and how much in reality they do go up.
Yeah. So, exactly. But I think Purvis is one of those high ceiling players, and what we mean by that is he's capable of a score that he got at Arsenal. Off the top of my head, I think it was 17. So he's capable of doing that. Botman is a nice placeholder in a good defence, but he's never going to get 17. So Purvis's ceiling is very high. That's what I'm saying. He's an exciting selection, put it that way. We'd actually do housekeeping. He's really good. But I'll move on. Van Dijk, he was 6.6 at the end of the season, but he started 6.5, I believe. You said 6, I've said 6.5. In hindsight, I think you're probably right at 6 in terms of.
I think he's going to get a big drop personally.
Yeah, I think you're probably right with 6 in that he didn't have his best season and your defence wasn't great. He didn't do loads attacking wise. Did he score once or twice off the top of my head? I don't recall him doing much. He's a good player. I'm not saying he's not, but we know he didn't have a good season. So I think you're probably right at 6. Shaw's a semi-interesting one. This is our last one because we talked about Saliba and Zinchenko. Shaw started at 5, ended at 5.3. Loads of people had him, like so many, very highly owned. We both said 6.
I think that's right.
I think that's probably right. I think it's either that or 5.5. But I think the issue, hopefully they look at it, and if he's 5.5, everyone will have him.
Yeah, I must admit, if he's 6, I'm not touching him.
No, but at 5.5, most will have him, I think, because he's so nailed. He's just so nailed. Ten Hag loves him. So, be interesting. We both said 6. I think he'll be 6 or 5.5. Very interesting option. He's a better option at fullback, obviously. We know what happened to him this season. He kind of went and played centre-back, which wasn't great for his attacking stats. But, good option. Yeah, that's it for defenders.
Yeah, midfielders. So midfielders.
Right. Get on with it. Yeah.
Mo Salah, and he's top of the list again. So top of the list.
I think that's just really quickly. That's a credit to how good he is. Most people you ask would say he had an average season, and he's still at the top.
Yeah, who had a better season, Mo Salah or Marcus Rashford?
You'd say Marcus Rashford. Who was better this season, Odegaard or Salah? You'd say Odegaard.
And this is the thing as well is, by the way, Liverpool had 2 7-0. What did they beat Bournemouth?
Yeah.
6-0. But that Bournemouth game, I captained him. He got 4 points.
Mr. Pen.
Mr. Pen. Yeah. So like you
didn't score that many pens this year either.
No.
Got that number.
We didn't have a penalty for ages. So
I was quite lucky because I actually brought him in and then he started scoring penalties. So I was quite lucky because I missed out on the ones that he missed. So
thought you didn't get any. Thought you didn't get any luck.
Didn't get much.
Yeah.
But all I'm saying is that shows you how good an option that he is. That he had a bad season and he's still at the top.
Yeah. So I've predicted a slight decrease to 12.5, and you've stayed at 13.
I'm pretty happy with 13.
Yeah, I think you're right, mate. I think you're right.
Pretty happy with 13.
I think for me, this time last year, Salah and Trent were the first names on my sheet. Moving into next year, I think it's more around fixtures that Salah's in or not.
I agree with you. I think if Salah and he could go to 13.5, by the way, he could because he was 13 and he had a good season. He could. He's top scorer, so he could. If he does, and your fixtures are average or bad, I leave him. I left him this year. 13.
He is. I really don't think he's a hold at 13.5. Really.
But isn't he top point scorer? So it's a tough one, isn't it? If he's 13.5 and you have a really good run to the start of the season, you'd still find it hard not to.
The last 2 years, I wonder if we could maybe have a look into this. I think he's actually probably quite a flashy player, and what I mean by that is he goes for 6 weeks, scores 50 points in 6 weeks, and then goes for 6 weeks and scores 20 points, and it's but anyway.
Odegaard is 6.9, ended the season.
He's going to get
he was phenomenal this year. He was so good this year. Not only was he just a class player, he's so pivotal to Arsenal as captain. I think it says a lot that he's captain at 24. Like, it speaks volumes, and he's just a class player. And I say never. What staggers me about him is from outside the box, how he just pops it in the bottom bins, just dead easy. Do you know what I mean? Like but he still gets into attacking positions as well. So and he's nailed with a capital N. So yeah, you've got 8.5, I've got 8. It's going to be one of the two.
During the season, you made really good points about him and KDB. And a lot of his stats were very similar to KDB's, and we were considering KDB at like 11.5, and then Odegaard was sat there at 6 point something, and you were like, why is he not in everyone's team?
Those Arsenal players were phenomenal bargains. Odegaard and Martinelli were phenomenal bargains, really were this season. Rashi, 8.5 or 8, be one of the two probably. Rashford, great season. Wasn't amazing at the end, but he had that run where he was phenomenal. We did actually, I kind of predicted at the start of the season that 6.5 would be a bit too cheap. So he finished on 7.2. You've got 9, I've got 8.5. Again, I'm confident it'll be one of the two. I think it's about right.
Yeah,
I think it's about right.
And again, fixtures, if he's 8 or below, wow, he's in my team.
Yeah. But the thing is, I'm hoping that the FPL are going to try and guard against players that are going to be in everyone's sides. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want them to dip Rashi in at 8 and then everyone has him. We don't want teams where everyone has certain players. So I just hope that they look at players that they think people are really going to have, Trippier, Rashford, Haaland, etc., and go, do you know what? We're going to make it difficult for people to put these players in. So I hope they do that, because we don't want template teams with 5-6 players exactly the same. Saka was 8, start of the season, end of the season 8. I think he started the season 8, but I'm having to guess.
I think he did.
Yeah. You've got 9, I've got 8.5. One of the two. Pretty good season. We know he's on penalties now. We didn't know that at the start of last season. We expected it, but we didn't know it. Now we know he's on pens. I much to say, really. I think it's going to be 9 or 8.5. Martinelli's a really interesting one. 6.5 the end of the season. We had him in our first draft, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I had him a bundle this year. I had him a bundle last year. He's getting better as a player, by the way. He's an improving player. He's on his day, he's scary good, and I think he's going places. He could be really exciting next year, by the way. So, but yeah, we think it's going to go up. You think 8.5? I think 8. So it'll be one of those two. But even then, even at 8.5, if they have a good run of fixtures,
I have him in.
Yeah,
I think he's really good.
He's a good player. Yeah. KDB's an interesting one. Finished the season 12.1. We've both got 11.5. Just really quickly, you'll probably learn this as FPLs go past. I've always said that, I've always banged the drum about KDB. He's a world-class player. We know that. There's no point me even talking about this. He's phenomenal. One of the best in the Premier League era. And for me, he's overpriced as an FPL asset. Really overpriced. Based on the positions he takes, minutes even. He's not even nailed.
For me, it's the badge. You, as soon as you're wearing a City badge, you're inflating your price.
And it's partly, that when you get him in, that you're getting in a world-class talent that can score a 35-yarder at any given moment.
But that's 2 a year.
But statistically, that's not going to happen. Exactly. So that's what I mean. We'll see. If his price comes down a bit, they've got a good run of fixtures, he seems nailed, maybe. But in general, I'm a bit anti-KDB as an FPL option, in general. Off the top of my head, in the last 3 years, he's had one game where he's gone ballistic, and I believe that was Molineux, where he scored 4 goals.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, that was a good game to have him. Other than that, he's world class. But what I mean, his roof is at a single game 10 points. 10 points, goal and assist if he has a phenomenal game. And like I say, the thing with KDB is he can have a phenomenal game and get 2 points.
Yeah.
That's the issue. So I'd rather take a more exciting punt on a Mahrez for 4 million cheaper, whose attacking numbers are actually better. You're just taking a risk on whether he plays or not. But anyway, both got 11.5. I think that's spot on. Bruno is an interesting one. Finished the season 9.5. We've both got 9.5. Not much to say. Good option. Good player. Is on penalties.
0 minutes risk. 0 minutes
player. Yeah, he ticks a lot of boxes.
Yeah.
He tends to play in the attacking role.
It's just if United get a striker, then he may drop deeper because then it'll be
dropping deeper. But if he plays in the hole for United on pens, he's a good player as well. I think he's a little bit underrated in that people don't really like him because he's a bit of a bitch, to be honest with you. He's a bit of a whiny little bitch, goes down all the time. So I don't think people warm to him, and then people like slating him. But he's a good player. He's a good footballer. So Son's a really interesting one. So
we were just chatting before we pressed record, and the new manager, his name, Ange. We both have taken zero interest in Scottish football since our conception. So therefore, we don't have a clue how Celtic played last year. All I know is that they had a load of Japanese players. So,
like I mentioned to you earlier, I heard on the radio, high press is kind of it was the rumor.
But we need, we definitely need to do some digging into that, because if Kane departs, then Son, either could be on his way, or
they could build a team around him.
To build the team around him, and so
he could be on penalties because he was the second penalty taker this year, so he could be on pens if he plays up top.
Finished the season on 11.5. Was he 12 at the start of the year?
12 at the start of the year, but that's only because he was top goal scorer last year.
Yeah, exactly. And
you've gone 9. I've gone 10. If he's 9, it could be an unbelievable bargain. If they get good fixtures, if he's the focal point, if there's no Kane, if he's on penalties, 9 is.
Does he need Kane though to get to?
Does he need
those
Kane?
heights?
Are Spurs going to be worse without Kane? Probably.
So
Kane probably.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Do you remember? Because the year before, when he came top point scorer, it was on the back of Kane giving loads of assists. So,
but he could be a Rashford in that last year Rashford went from 9.5, he had a terrible season, went down to 6.5, but cut 3 million in 1 year. And if Son gets the same, cut from 12 to 9, he could be a bit of a sleeping giant at 9. A bit like Rashford was this year.
That's why I have gone 9, because I knew that Rashford had the biggest foot.
They might do that, yeah. And then the Brighton players, just to finish off with, Solly, Alexis and Matoma, those were the three. Those are our three attacking midfielders. Those were the 3 focal points this year when everyone went to Brighton because they had so many fixtures to catch up on. Alexis is obviously gone now, but we'll come to that in a second. Solly finished 5.2, Alexis finished 5.6, Matoma finished 5.7. I went Alexis and Matoma, but I can understand people that went Solly, but I adore Solly. He's a club legend, but he is an amazing end product still. He's had a great season, like wow, amazing season, but his still end product isn't amazing. So that's just why I went for the other 2. Alexis was on penalties, he's on set pieces, which kind of paid off in the end, by the way, because he scored a couple of penalties and stuff. So, but yeah, so you've gone Solly 6, Alexis 6.5, Matoma 6.5. I've gone Solly 7, Alexis 7, Matoma 7.5. I've gone a little bit higher on all of them. Is that unintentional bias? Maybe. Is it? Were they so highly owned just because we had loads of fixtures to catch up on? Probably, yes. So I've maybe gone a bit overboard. Alexis is obviously a Liverpool player now. So will that affect his price? Maybe. Is he a good asset now as he was last year? No, because he's not going to be on set pieces. He's not going to be on penalties. He may not play as far forward. So he's probably not going to be an option next year. Matoma, I think, is the one that you need to keep an eye on. Because, again, not being too biased, he is a spark. He's a big spark. And he can do some pretty cool things with the ball. So,
but he's a spark. But he's a spark that doesn't seem to explode.
Yeah, but do you know what he is? Okay, I'm going to make a prediction. He's going to go one of 2 ways. He'll either be a bit average, stay at Brighton and be okay. His roof is so high. If he has end product to his game, he could be phenomenal. Honestly, phenomenal. Yeah. Like Son good. At least Son good. If he fulfills his potential, he is seriously talented.
Well, I went to the Brighton home game on Boxing Day, and Arsenal, and I couldn't believe how many Japanese people were there with Matoma shirts on, and this was kind of like when he was very relatively unknown. The last 6 months of the season, he has just absolutely exploded. So yeah.
But he's still. This is the exciting thing with him. He's still not at his best. He's still not at his potential. No way. If he fulfills his potential, he's a scary prospect. But he may not. There's players before that we've said have got loads of potential that have never fulfilled it. So we'll see. But his roof is very, very high. He's an exciting pick. We talk about this all the time. Purvis is exciting. His roof's high. Matoma's exciting. His roof's high. Trent has a high roof. Do you know what I mean? So he's the exciting one. Solly I adore, but he's not quite as exciting.
Solly had been nowhere near my team.
Solly's rock solid, but
plus it's the risk of him playing at fullback as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but Matoma is going to be in the final third, whereas Solly could potentially play as a wing back. So
yeah, the amount of times I've obviously been to a lot of games. The amount of times Matoma gets a ball in an unbelievable position and then doesn't quite make the right decision. Crosses when he should have taken the player on when he should have crossed. So if he can turn into a bit of end product, he gets in such attacking positions as well. So yes,
I feel like we said this about Martinelli as well. He does remind me of Martinelli a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. So,
yeah. Forwards, Haaland.
Haaland is a massive talking point, isn't it? It's hard. We can't gloss over this. Finished the season at 12.4. We both said 13.5.
Johnson, just check for me. What was the highest he went up to this year?
So he finished at 12.4.
I think he was 12.8. But I'll do some talking while you're looking.
Yep.
So Haaland has Haaland ownership was absolutely ridiculous all year, and I think that you made a good point earlier on. It'd be really good if they did throw in a little bit of a price on Haaland, like 13.5. The reason why I went 13.5 is that's the most expensive a player has ever been on the game, and there's never been a better Premier League striker from a return.
It ruined captaincy for most weeks this year because everyone just went Haaland. So it'd be good if they went big, and then
do you know what?
Not everyone would have him.
I'd be on board with 14 as well. Like,
I
just think that
they could make a statement.
I do think that there's, but like there is a joy about owning Haaland as well. Just literally going into the game, just going, well, when is he going to score? Not if he's going to score. It's more when.
Yeah. So obviously, started the season incredibly well. He went from 11.5 to 12.2 in 10 game weeks, which is phenomenal. Right? By game week 10, Southampton
that's
home,
the ownership.
12.2.
That's the ownership thing.
Yeah. Took off. Yeah. And then the highest he got was 12.4. He finished it. He was 12.2 forever. He went down to 12. I think that's when people were taking him out because of blank, etc.
No, that he got injured. He got injured. We took him out.
Yeah.
We took him out.
Yes, Liverpool at home. Yes. Got injured. Yeah, that's right. So a lot of people sold him. Went down to 12, but then 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, and finished the season on 12.4. That was the highest he got.
Yeah.
Very, very interesting one to keep an eye on next year, obviously. If he's 14 and they have good fixtures to start the season, I'll probably have him.
Imagine if he's 12.5.
Well, I don't want him to be. I'd be really disappointed if he's 12.5 because he takes up a striker spot the whole season, doesn't he?
It's not a bad take up though, is it?
No, but if he's 12.5, it's a no comment, isn't it?
Yeah, I get it.
It's just a pointless conversation at 12.5. You have to have him. But I want him to be 14. I really want him to be 14 because then it splits it, and he's still probably 50% owned.
I think your reasoning behind that is, I think it swings towards engaged people if he's 14 because the engaged people will do better with the other funds, whereas the unengaged people are buying Salah and they're buying Haaland and then doing absolutely, and then they're buying people like James Milner with the other money which is a terrible FPL pick.
Yeah. But it'd just be interesting if he's 14 because then it's, do we go with him? Do we take him on? It's a nice little narrative. Whereas if it's 12.5, it's just dull again, isn't it? Let's pick Haaland, let's captain Haaland. It doesn't ruin the game, but it ruins captaincy.
Yeah.
I really hope it's 14. Yes, Kane. Depends on his club. We went different here. You went, so he's 11.5. He started the season 11.5, finished the season 11.5, even though he scored in almost every single game week.
And you know what? His please, actually, another one. Sorry, check his prices throughout the season. I don't think it changed from 11.5 much. So Harry Kane scored loads of points. Got an absolute bundle of points.
He got a return. Right, just really quickly, he didn't get a return in 7 games all season. Out of 38.
Me and Johnson were really lucky throughout most of the season. So I actually was at the start of the year. I went through a freemium, and as in 3 premiums, and that was a bold move because I had to make sacrifices throughout the team. But actually, that seemed to be the play, really, to have a Salah or De Bruyne, and then Haaland and Kane. that was the play for a lot of the season.
But you only went that after game week 1, didn't you? Because you only had Salah and Kane at the start.
Yeah.
You went to Haaland. Yeah.
No. I went to Haaland, and then after game week 4 or 5, I went to a 3-man.
Yeah. So you had Salah and Kane, and then you went Kane to Haaland after game week 1.
And then got Kane.
And I went without Salah, and I went Haaland and Kane, so I didn't have to worry about that. Obviously, I was scared about Salah, but I didn't have to worry about that because I had both, which in the end wasn't a bad move to start off the season. I just didn't finish it particularly well. But Kane's price, he was pretty much 11.5 the whole season. Then he shot up a little bit towards the end, went up to 11.8, but then went back down to 11.4 again, and then up to 11.5 in the last game of the season because everyone got him
in. Tony, he finished the season on 7.1, and I've said
slight disagreement here.
Yeah, I've said 9.
I've said 8. The disagreement here comes from his ban, and your price I think is based on if they.
Do you take that into account?
Yeah, your price is based on if they don't take it into account, and if they don't take it into account, 9 is fair. If they do take it into account, it'll be closer to my 8.
Yeah.
I think, do they have to take it into account, or do they just start him at 9 and let him fall? I don't know. Will they take it into account? Fascinating one to see. I think they probably will.
So he won't fall. Because no one will have him.
Because he's not going to be owned. Yeah, true.
So if anything, he's only going to go up. So I actually think that your 8 would be really good.
Yeah.
But
I just don't. Back from his ban, 8's an option.
I don't know how they do it. I'd be really interested to know this.
Yeah.
But I think that it's just an algorithm, and given his points, he will be given. I think that somewhere in the middle, 8.5 is probably more like the realistic one.
Yeah. Watkins, great season. He finished at 7.3. We've said both 8. I think that's fair. He's phenomenal. He had that phenomenal run. Villa are a team going places. He's nailed. He's on pens. Rock solid. I think 8's about right. I think he justifies
exactly the same. Exactly the same with Wilson.
Yeah. Wilson. Yeah, we just had a tiny disagreement on price. I said 7.5. You said 8, but similar idea.
The only bad part about Wilson
not nailed
is Isak, and the only bad part about Isak is Wilson.
Yeah, they're just not nailed. They're just not nailed together. Sometimes they miss out. Definitely. Be interested to see where he goes. If he goes both next season, or what if they sign another option? Then what? And they probably will. Why wouldn't they sign a big name up top? Then what?
Neymar.
Yeah. Then what? Then there's even less chance for Wilson. So, and he's had a great season. But yeah, one to keep an eye on. And Bumo, 5.7, finished the season. Both said 6.5. I've got a very close eye on this player. I like him. I don't know what it is. There's something about him I really like. Finished the season really well. Tony's going to be banned. So he could, look, I'm expecting them to sign a striker, but they could turn Mbeumo into the focal point. He's definitely second penalty taker behind Tony, so keep an eye on that. Another thing to keep an eye on, he was a forward this year, but he was a midfielder the year before. So it's unlikely. If he comes in as a midfielder, wow. Keep an eye on him, because like I say, if he's a midfielder playing up top on penalties in a good side, a 6.5, and they've got easy fixtures, then keep an eye. Yeah, same with Solanke. Finished similar. He finished on 5.6. We both at 6.5. Not much to say. Good player.
I'm not going to touch him.
No. I would probably agree with you. Jesus is a really interesting one because the injury kind of blighted his season. Everyone had him at the start of the season. I think he was the most highly owned player in the whole game.
Yeah,
start of the season at 8 million. Started off pretty well as well. He kind of did justify it. Started off pretty good. Slowed down a little bit, then got injured. Then kind of blew it apart a little bit. Then even when he came back, not many people had him just because he wasn't nailed because he was coming back from injury. It
was more because everyone had some form of Newcastle, and then Kane and Haaland.
Arsenal's run wasn't great. They didn't have many games to catch up. But I wouldn't ignore Jesus as an option for next year. I would not ignore him as an option.
Especially if Haaland's priced out the game.
100%. So he was finished on 8.1. You said 9. I've said 8.5. It's about right. He was a bit cheap at 8 last year. I got him in for the last game of the season, and he did all right. He got a goal and assist. So, yeah, that's about that. Mitro, again, is an interesting one. So he finished at 6.6. We're both at 7.5. I think he's a player we both like, isn't
he? Love him.
He's a huge focal point in that side. Huge.
You go into that game. If you have in your team players like Dunk, players like Mitro, you never need to watch a deadline stream because those players are playing in that team. There's only injury that keeps them out, which is a lovely position to be in.
Yeah, huge focal point, good player. Everything goes through him on penalties. I would argue he's one of the most important players for his team in the league.
Yeah. Along with Tony.
Huge player for his team. Yeah. Tony's another good example. You take a Mitro out of Fulham, they're average. You take a Tony out of Brentford, they're average. They're huge players for their side, not just the goals.
and Tony betted on that, right?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
No, he did. Every time he didn't play, he put a bet on, and then to lose.
And every time he played, he put a bet on to win. That's so staggering, isn't it? Really. But he's just a huge part of that Fulham team, and they missed him when he got suspended big time. So keep an eye on him, especially with good fixtures. The XG he was creating before his ban was high.
Yeah, really.
Especially at the start of the season, it was phenomenally high. Alvarez finished on 6.1. That's too cheap. We've both gone 7.
City's his biggest problem.
It's just Haaland. Yeah, it's just Haaland. Yeah. I mean, if Haaland broke his leg, God forbid, Alvarez is a must. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's nailed.
It's not even a conversation. Yeah.
No.
So what I'd say, even at 7, he's a bit of a sleeping giant. Again, if Haaland's fit, he's not playing that much. Pep roulette, maybe not. If Haaland goes missing and they don't sign another striker, which they probably won't because they don't really need to, that's 7 million. If Haaland breaks his leg, Alvarez is 7 million and he should be 11.
Really? Oh, 11. Oh.
Yeah, there's no Haaland.
Fair.
In a Man City side. So one that you have to keep an eye on all season. Most of the season he won't be an option, but if he becomes an option, wow.
Yeah.
And I think Pep likes him. He was playing both at times at the end of the season.
Pep said he cannot believe he's got such a good player who is sitting on the bench, and Pep has never said that before about a player.
Yeah, so it is one to keep an eye on. Even as a striker slot, one to keep an eye on because Pep likes him. He's a good player, mate. When he plays, he's good. He's a good player.
World Cup winner.
Yeah, very good player. Evan Ferguson, a player I love. 4.6. You said 5.5. I've said 6. Ceiling is so high.
It's so seriously, he just needs a run in that team. I was so sick of seeing the Brighton lineup with him one week, Danny Welbeck.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think grow some balls, stick the young lad up front. And
if he turns into our number one striker, look, for me he's our number one striker anyway. But if he turns into a week in, week out, playing every game, and we've got good fixtures, he's a talent, mate. I've said that to you loads before, and again, I'm trying not to be biased, but he's a big talent. He's got it all.
And I can't see them giving him such a massive upgrade to 6. So if he's 5.5, he's in my team.
Yeah. He's a good placeholder. It's not 5.5. He's a really good enabler.
Yeah.
You're getting an enabler, but you've got a player there with a high ceiling for a cheap price. And yes, keep an eye on his minutes because I feel like he gets a bit looked after. If you know what I mean? For some reason, I'd be starting him every game, but some of the goals he scored, he's 18. He doesn't look like he's 18. He looks like he's
he's big. He's
a big unit, and
he's an early developer, definitely.
And like I say, he just ticks loads of boxes. Good in the air, good finisher, works really hard, closes down. He will not be at Brighton past one more season, in my opinion. That's my little prediction for you. I want to get one more. He may go this summer. If he doesn't go this summer, he'll go next summer. because I'd go as far to say he's too good for us. Even at 18, he's too good for us. He's got too much potential to be a Brighton.
I've heard the United talks.
Yeah, Liverpool a little bit as well. I've had a little bit of Liverpool. But he's a talent, mate. Honestly, keep an eye on him. But then we've had talents before, like I've said previously, that haven't fulfilled their potential. But my God, he's got big potential. Isak, again, another player with huge potential. Currently 7. You said 8. I've said 7.5. It's going to be about that.
I only said 8 because I think he'll be exactly the same as Wilson. And honestly, there's loads of people messed up having Isak over Wilson. If you're gonna have the two, if out of the two, you've got to have Wilson because he plays more.
I so nearly captained Wilson that week. I said to you I was going to do it. I really honestly planned to do it. The only reason I didn't do it is we didn't get team news. If we'd have got team news and it had said Callum Wilson was starting, I would have captained him. But I didn't want to do it because he couldn't guarantee he was playing. And then he went ballistic. I think he got 24 doubled. Isak got 8. That's like a 20-point swing. So,
and then finally,
7.5 is my concern is that he plays wide. He's nowhere near as good an FPL option when he plays wide. When he's on his own up top, he's the focal point and he's on penalties. When there's two of them, Wilson's on penalties, he plays wide. It's not a great option.
Just a thought. Could there be a move to midfield?
Maybe.
Midfielder.
Wow. He's a great option as midfielder. But I don't think he will be. But possibly, you never know. You never know at FPL. So they do throw some random midfielders in now and again.
Remember Aubameyang?
Yeah, crazy. When he went midfield, that season everyone dropped to midfield and we were like, whoa. Yeah. Darwin finished the season 8.6. You've gone 8. I've gone 8.5. Again, a really interesting one.
I'm just hoping he's 8. That's what I'm hoping for.
It's all minutes with him. It's all minutes. If you have 2 or 3 injuries, if you have Jota injured, Diaz injured, Salah injured, he's a lock.
Next year's his year, mate. He is.
Could be. It could be. And his, I said this to you earlier, and it's true, and they banged on about the start of the season. His XG is phenomenal. Yes, he's not. Arguably, he's getting used to the league. Yes, he was a frustrating player. There'd be games where he'd have 2.0 XG and he wouldn't score. There was a couple of games where I was like, how the hell has he not got any points from this game? He should have 15 points. But if he improves and if he starts to finish a bit better, there's obviously a player there, then keep a hell of an eye on him because, again, as I talk about sleeping giants, he could be one of them. If he gets a regular run of games and he starts to get used to the league and Liverpool are doing well and they've got good fixtures, his ceiling is very high.
Yeah,
very high.
Definitely.
All right. Good.
All done.
Yeah.
I hope that was useful for everyone as much as it was for us. I think we got a lot of use out of it, and we will determine how useful that is in actually a couple of weeks when the prices do get released, because we'll be able to revisit. I'm really looking forward
to the prices getting released, and we'll come back and we'll revisit and we'll have a bit of a. It'll be good because 1, it'll be informative, but 2, we'll wind each other up a bit. Like I told you, it was going to be 8, and you said it was going to be 7, and then we'll start to give more of an insight into. Okay, we believe that with the fixture list as it is, and with the prices that we've been given, we believe that this player is a really good option, or we believe this player is not a good option.
Perfect.
KDB comes in at 12. They've got bad fixtures. Can't go anywhere near him. So
Odegaard comes in at 7.5 with really good fixtures.
He's a shoe-in.
Yeah,
so,
I agree.
We'll see.
I agree. Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for watching and listening. Yeah. Please do the usual. Visit the Instagram page. We're going to have a Twitter page up soon as well. Please subscribe and there'll be loads of content. Honestly, we love it. So it's going to be there's going to be so much content.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Yes, please. That'd be good. That'll help us grow, and then we can give you tons of content. So, next time we'll probably be waiting for the fixtures to come out, and then that'll be juicy. We'll give you the best options and the best kind of teams with the easiest fixtures to start the season. If we make it to that point, there may be something before that we come up with, but it'll probably be that. And then, the season will creep up very quickly, I'm sure, and we'll have loads of stuff. As soon as the prices get released, then we will be flat out.
Flat out.
Flat out. Cool. Thanks a lot, everyone. See you next time. Cheers.
See you later. Bye.